Mosca is a 4th grader in Miss Pierre's class at Strand. As you know, our school is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and our class is conducting interviews with people like yourself who were connected to our school in some way many years ago. A few of my classmates and I will be taking turns asking you some questions about your experience and memories from the time you were here, and then turning those interviews into video clips and newspaper booklets that we'll publish and share with all the members of our school community. I'll ask the first questions. What is your name?
John Coolidge.
How were you associated with Strand Elementary?
I actually never went to school here, but I moved into the Navy housing when I was 12 years old in 1970. My dad was in the military.
And what years were you here?
I was here, like I said, in 1970 until off and on. My parents actually moved out in 1985, but my sister and I went away to college and then came back.
My name is Henry Summers. What are some of your best memories about those days?
Just hanging out here after school, coming here and just playing basketball. There used to be a big dirt roads out there that we would do BMX bikes. We would put jumping over it. We would go down and fishing and just kind of hanging out with my friends, playing sports.
Hi, my name is Luke Smith. What are the major ways that life is different now than when you were associated with our school?
Well, some of the things that were different were you guys actually have a bicycle path out there to be safe with a bike, to go up and back and forth to school. And then the city bus stops here and picks up people. We didn't have that. There was no bicycle, there was no bike path back then, and there was also no city bus that stopped here. So our moms and our neighbors had to drive us back and forth to Coronado. So that was the only way we could get there, or we could walk.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tristan Anderson. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us about your experience or memories of our school?
This is a really, really special place for me. This is hard. I had an older brother, and we lived down here together. We did everything together. But I get to come here every Wednesday. I drive down here, dive to Strand. I drive through this. I grew up here. I have memories of playing baseball and running around with my brother. He passed away 10 years ago. So this is a very special place to me. The military kids here, it's special. It's just some of the military kids you guys will, you have different. Your moms and dads are gone. So your friends are who you are, your teachers are you're going to be the people that you go to because your dads aren't here, your moms aren't here. This time is something that you're always going to remember. I guarantee it. 40 years later, I still remember this place. It's a very, very special place.
Hi, my name is Lyric Schuhart. Do you have any photos or artifacts that you'd like to share with us?
I don't have any pictures, but I know there's some in the teacher's lounge. There's some old yearbooks that I was looking through, and they're very, you guys should be able to look at them. They're very cool. That you can see your school. You can see that there's nothing out there. There's just fields and places that we used to play.
Mr. Coolidge, is there anything else that comes to mind about 1965 that stands out to you? Do you remember anything that was a part of that year that was either popular or cultural or music that you think about when you think about 1965?
Yeah, when I think about some of the music is, you know, it was the Beatles were around back in 1965. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Beatles, but that was part of my era. Was then the clothes were really crazy and funny. We used to have all kinds of paisleys and you know, and the biggest thing back then was long hair. All the boys had really, really long hair. I wish I would have brought a picture. I had long hair back down to here, but now I cut it short because it was just a style. It was just a phase. It's not something that I really liked because everyone else was doing it, but it was fun.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like for the entire class to give Mr. Coolidge a nice round of applause for taking the time.
Thank you guys. This was actually pretty fun. Like I said, this is a very, very special place to me. Every time I come here, I see the faces and your teachers. And one thing I did want to say is that back then, when we were playing, we would be here at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and there would be cars out there. The teachers would still be here. We'd come on the weekends, the teachers would still be here. They give a lot to you. They don't get paid for weekends. They don't get paid for nights. And the teachers now are still doing the same thing. That's 40 years. Teachers are very special people. So I want to thank them.
Hello, I'm Alexis Hammond, a fourth grader in Miss Piero's class at Silver Strand. I'll ask the first questions.
Sure.
What is your name?
My name is Lewis Smith, okay? Now, Lewis isn't a real common name anymore for boys, but it was very common the year my dad was born, which was 1912. It was the second most common boy's name, and I, as was the custom a long time ago, was named after my dad.
Hi, my name is Sebastian Kane. What was your experience generally like with our school or neighborhood back then?
It was very positive. I mean, it was pretty here. The traffic was a little better than it is now. There wasn't quite as much traffic going up and down the Strand. The housing, of course, there was some housing here. We were building more housing, so it was all new, and that was really nice. Everybody liked that. The families then as now were very nice people. The kids are all good kids. You do remember I told you that you kind of remember things that were good and bad? You know, if you looked out of the, you probably don't see them from here, if you looked out the door, there's a whole row of palm trees down there that go to the community center. Everybody know where the palm trees are? Mm-hmm. What I know and you don't know is that that isn't the first row of palm trees. That's the second row of palm trees. Because when we were building the housing, we planted that row of palm trees, except they forgot to hire somebody to water them after they put them in. So they put them up there, and after about 3-4 months, they started looking sickly. And after about 5 months, they died. And so I remember driving along here thinking, visiting the job, and thinking, why do those trees look so bad? And it turned out we forgot to hire somebody to water them, so they replaced them. So none of those trees there are the original trees. We replaced every single one of those with a new row of palm trees.
Hi, my name is Kiana Fowler. Do you have anything else that you would like to share with us about your experiences or memories of our school?
You know, everybody, going to school is a journey. And everybody talks about, you know, it's important to be in 4th grade or in 2nd grade and to do your best and to have fun and to enjoy it. But you know, it's a journey that starts when you're in preschool and ends when you graduate from college. You know, and that's a long time. That's really a long time in your life. I mean, that's 15, 16, 17 years. And so I think the thing that I always liked here was the fact that everybody was always a part of that journey. Everybody was always, you know, doing things and going forward and getting ready for next year. You guys will be 5th graders next year, huh? Wow, rule of school. That's going to be great.
Hi, my name is Taylor. What are some of your best memories about those days?
I moved to Silver Strand Elementary when I was 4 years old, and then I went to Silver Strand all the way through 5th grade. I remember all my teachers. I had Miss Bobian was my kindergarten teacher, let's see, 2nd grade was Miss David, 3rd grade was Miss Pine. Miss Pine I still see in Coronado, around town, Carol Pine, and then 3rd grade was Mr. Moran. Mr. Moran still is in Coronado, and he used to ride his bike to school every day. He was the one who taught us the flutophones and singing and performing. 4th grade was Miss Pine. 5th grade was Mr. McLaughlin. Mr. McLaughlin eventually moved up to what was Central, is now Village. So Mr. McLaughlin was my 5th grade teacher. The thing I remember about him the most was he did flashcards. So he did Times flashcards as a competition in his classes. So.
Hi, my name is Perry Kohinka. What was your experience generally like with our school or neighborhood back then?
Well, when I grew up here, we all really aspired to live in Coronado. And now that I look back at my time here, I realize how unbelievably lucky I was here in Silver Strand. For instance, my brother and John Coolidge, who was working here this morning, were a big group of teenagers who built a couple BMX tracks down here, bicycle race tracks, right? One right over here by the back fence, and then one over here right behind Saipan Road. And they would dig trenches and line them with trash bags, and then fill it up with water, and we'd have jumps over that. Big berms, big turns that they would, spend hours and hours shaping, and so we'd have these bike tracks down here. We used to dig holes in the sand behind our houses. I lived on Saipan Road, 1335 Saipan, and we would dig holes in the ground, and we would cover them with plywood and cover them with pickleweed and camouflage them and everything, and we had little forts that we would build around behind our houses. That was really really amazing. I have pictures in my book of us swimming in the bay. Pictures in the book I'll show you pictures about grunion hunting. Where the grunion are small fish that swim up on the beach at night in certain times of the year, and we would collect some of those grunion, and then we would use them for bait for fishing. We used to fish a lot. There used to be an old sunken, those flat-bottom Navy boats that have the door that open on the front. They go up on the beach and close there. There was one that was sunken in the sand, and we would go up there and sit on there and fish off of that. And we would actually cook. We would have a little fire, and we'd cook grunion and eat them. That was a funny memory.
Hi, my name is Chris Russi. What are the major ways that life is different now than when you were associated with our school?
Oh dear, I could go on forever about that. The school was very different then. It was very small. It was a lot smaller. Everything was open. There was no housing on this side at all. We had no lunchroom at all. So when the children came to school, they brought their lunches or they went home for lunch. And the only thing we had to do with the cafeteria in town was if they wanted to, they could order a sack lunch or milk, which was your typical sack lunches. And so in that way it was a lot different. So if it was raining or the weather was bad, you all ate in the classrooms. It's simple as that. Teacher stayed in and you ate your lunches in the classroom. So also there was no computers, no cell phones, and there was no bike path either, so you couldn't ride your bikes back and forth into town. And there was no bus service in housing at that time. So you were pretty well isolated down here and depended on one another for many, many things. And the parents were very, very involved in the school. I'm not familiar with the way it is now, but parents back then, you literally watched out for one another. The fathers were gone quite a bit because it was during the Vietnam era, and so in those ways it's a lot different.
I will ask the first question. How were you associated with our Silver Strand Elementary?
I went to Silver Strand Elementary in 5th and 6th grade. That would have been in the year, 5th grade was 1966-67, and 6th grade 67-68.
All right.
And my brother also went to Silver Strand Elementary in kindergarten and 1st grade.
Hi, my name is Kiana Harris. What are some of your best memories about those days?
Walking to school with my friends, and we skated and rode our bikes all over that neighborhood. There were sidewalks everywhere. I was in the Brownies and the Girl Scouts. I remember going trick-or-treating, and one of my favorite things was we had a bakery van that used to drive through the neighborhood much like an ice cream truck, and they had bread and donuts and candy. And that was just such a big deal to ride your bike out to the bakery van and get a candy bar or a box of lemon drops or something like that for a nickel. It was very cheap back then. But that was big fun to do that.
My name is Pierre Kohinka. What are the major ways that life is different now than when you were associated with our school?
Well, I think the major thing is what we're doing right now, the technology. We didn't have any of that back then. If we got to see movies on a movie reel or something like that, that was a big deal, but we sure didn't have computers in the classroom.
How is your dad, Stephen Kuhn, associated with Strand Elementary?
Well, my dad was, let's go back a little bit. My dad is a graduate from USC, go Trojans. And he was a school teacher at first. He was a 4th grade school teacher, in fact, over at a school, Raymond Temple, up in Buena Park. That's where we grew up, which is right across the street from Knott's Berry Farm and very close to Disneyland. So it kind of gives you an idea. I know Disneyland. Kind of gives you an idea of where we all started. And then my dad became a vice principal. He went back to school, went back to USC, and continued on with his education. Education's really important, guys. And then he went to being a vice principal. And then from there, this school was built and opened for the housing area here in 1966. So my dad came down for the interview, and he got the principalship. And it was very exciting for him because this was the first school that he had as a principal, and he was here a long time. And it's also very special because the kids are the military kids, and my dad was in the Army, not the Navy, sorry, but my dad was in the Army and, during World War II, so he had a real good affinity as to understand the military kids as well. And also, just real quick, I want to mention, as an aside, my father was an orphan, and my dad grew up in an orphanage until he was 18, from 4 years old until he was 18. So I want to let you know that no matter how bad things get, if you want something bad enough, you can accomplish your goal.
Hi, my name is Matt Woodard. What was your dad's experience generally like with our school and neighborhood back then?
I think he was probably known for 2 things, and that was what he did with the students. And again, it was a brand new school, so not only was he new, but everybody was new here. The housing had just opened up, and everybody was getting to know everybody. So he always brought people together, both with classes and then individually. And the second thing I want to tell you about my dad was, he was very popular with the teachers. And I say that not because I'm his daughter, but my dad loved to cook. And if you ask any of the teachers that were here from 1966 on, my dad would kick my mom out of the kitchen the week before your Thanksgiving holiday, or your Christmas holiday, or your Easter holiday. And he would bring in full turkeys, using our ovens, because there wasn't much of a kitchen here. There wasn't anything hardly. And he would make full turkeys, and he would make full hams, and he just would strut around. He was so proud of himself. And the kids would, smell all the things that were going on in this little teacher's lounge. So that was his, I think, I would say, first of all, his love for his students, and then his love and appreciation and respect for his teachers.